twyfel weet. Jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's 'n rede dat jy lewe, 'n doel vir jou bestaan. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte se, in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Maak 'n brander en jy weet, die son skyn oor ons almal en die einde, wat ek sonder twyfel weet. Jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's 'n rede dat jy lewe, vir jou bestaan. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte se, in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte se, in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte se, in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag.
Going to my mind's going blank now. What's happening? What I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. Last night on the television, I was on a telephone rapidly rising I don't know. COVID has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's lives reflected in the NHDI. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him in the we're seize the ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. NATO's purpose is to defend against aggression. Let me make that near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. I don't think as the idea that the political coverage, I want to thank and recognize Dr. John Kingersong. That song. I can't get this to function at all. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What? I can't remember. I lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the door? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I headed? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. No idea. No idea. No idea.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to live this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in us. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simon's down in Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. America can be defined in just one word. My mind's going blank now. What the hell is going on here? Forgot I was the president. Sorry, folks. Couldn't resist. My mind's going blank here. Welcome back to the program. It is Sunday, April 28th, 2024. Good to see you all with me once again from around the world, whether it's from communist China. Well, nobody from North Korea is watching, I can guarantee that. From the land down under, the land of plunder, the land of imprisonment, the land of government totalitarian fascism known as Australia, the Western land way out there. Well, welcome back to the program, folks. Let's get into it. If you're from the Northern Ireland on the Emerald Isle, beautiful Emerald Isle of Ireland, maybe you're in the Orkneys. Wouldn't that be nice up there in the northern part of the UK? Maybe you come from Coventry like Keith Alderson does, or Poole, where Hendo finds himself hanging his hat. Welcome back to the program. Let me say hello to everybody here. Lots to talk about today, especially the quiet shh. Don't tell anybody we're hunting wabbits. I thought I saw a wabbit. That's right. Yosemite Sam there. Or Foghorn Leghorn. No, Yosemite Sam. Yeah, so we are hunting wabbits. That's right. The MK party, the Mkhonto Way party under Jacob Zuma, the convicted felon running for office, despite the fact he's not qualified according to South Africa's constitution, but its corrupt, captured electoral court says he is qualified. Hey, guess what? MK, shh. Don't tell anyone, has released their manifesto, their party platform for the 2024 elections. It was due on April 6th, but it was released just 2 days ago on April 28th. I think somebody forgot to tell him you need to write one. Val Cooper here at the outset, Pierre Orban, a distant cousin of the Prime Minister of Hungary, no doubt. Sue Walsh, welcome back to you. George Steinberg from Heckport. Charles Van Onselen, the voice of reason. Monray Siebert's in from Cape Town. Richard Lemmer, good to see you again. Teresa. Eric is here. She's still cut down by the flu. Shh. It's not the flu. It's the Rona. I have it on good authority. I've talked to Dr. Fauci. By the way, earlier I was going through old files in my download folder and I came across a picture of myself with Dr. Malone. That's right, Chris and Dr. Malone. Wonder if I can find that one again. Let me see if I can find that real quick. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I forgot about that photograph. That was from a while back here. Also found some other cool pictures here as I was going through things. Let me see. This is Dr. Malone picture at. It was Dr. Malone also, of course, with a certain gentleman from television whom I was with, too, when I was down there. CPAC convention a little over 2 years ago now. My goodness. Time flies, whether you're having fun or not. Isn't that the truth? You really have no control over the clock. It just keeps ticking, doesn't it? It just keeps ticking. I'm looking, where's it at? How far back was that? Gosh, there it is. Dr. Malone. There you go. You guys know who he is. He's the man who was ostracized, the man involved with the discovery of the mRNA process, which was bastardized for the Rona jabs. Well, here he is. Let me see if I can find Dr. Malone and I in a photograph from 2 years ago. There you go. Dr. Malone at CPAC. Robert Malone. If you didn't believe it was him, you can see his name tag right there. There you go. See, Robert Malone. Dr. Malone and Chris Wyatt. Yes, that's right. And it wasn't just Dr. Malone. It was also, of course, this gentleman here. Anybody know who this is? Captain Dylan Hunt of the Andromeda Ascendant, also known as Hercules. Kevin Sorbo. There you go, folks. That was also down there at CPAC 2 years ago. Wow. Kevin Sorbo. Then he was kind enough to come on as a guest in my program. Garrett Gillich is here. Erica. Rod Lofeld is in. Alan Kutzer. Light Rain. Leon. Leon, welcome back. And then we've got Gavin, Nick Muller. Who else we got here? We missing anybody else? Ken Aronston's in. He loves the rapper Joe. My mind's going blank now. What the hell is going on here? I forgot I was the president. That's right. Who else? Who else? Brian Lawrenson's here. And I almost missed Brian there. And already got Charles Van Onselen. Chris Ehlers. Welcome, Chris. Welcome back to the program. Debbie Morey's here. Hey, Debbie, welcome back. Good to see you there. Allison Johnson, Debbie Morey. I got to say, folks, I'm really enamored that so many ladies watch the program. You know, the stats don't bear that out. It must be the ladies show up for the live streams and the dudes just watch all the recorded content. Not really sure what's going on there, but that may be the case. Ulrich Fenter, welcome to you as well. Let me take my Tagala hat off here. There we go. Oops, messed up my hair a little bit there. A good rugby weekend for the most part for South African sides. Wow, what's going on with my hair? That's looking really weird there. There we go. That looks strange there. Oh, my goodness. All right, there we go. All right, so where am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Bidenitis. That's right. Is it like Shabir Shakeitis? Is it the same sort of thing? Shake Shabitis? Yeah, that's crazy stuff there. Anyway, Nick Muller, welcome to you. Anyway, folks, it is Sunday, and we're going to talk a little bit about news here today. Of course, a fair amount of news from across the continent of Africa today. I see a few hearts coming up there. Thank you so much for that. Now that I'm no longer a candidate for political office, and I did not win, no one can call me a politician. I'm not a politician. I'm a soldier. I'm a patriot. I'm an American. I'm an author. I'm a polyglot. And no, that has nothing sexual connotations to it. Polyglot is about speaking languages, in case you didn't know that. It sounds like something else, doesn't it? But anyway, yes, I'm an energy industry analyst as well. Yeah, that's right. So I also have this paper here, which I need to finish now. I wrote this a few weeks ago, and I need to get it up. Also decided to write another paper today. I'll put this on my Substack for those who want to read it, since hard to find publishers who will publish the content of cogent, lucid, thoughtful, investigative, conservative authors like myself. Anyway. Yep. All right. So let's get into it. What's going over here? My mind's going blank now. Got that Joe disease going. Yeah, that's right. Joe has afflicted me too. So let's see if this works out correctly. My software wouldn't start. That's why I was a minute late. I was on time, folks. I was waiting for this thing. Busy removing over 8,000 downloaded files from my root hard drive onto a solid state drive to back it up because it was just clogging up. I was down 165 gigabytes of data. Now I'm up to 258. Woohoo! And still more files to delete. So that's kind of good. Yeah. YouTube's buffering. It's happened to me. So just let it play, pause it, wait about 30 seconds, and then play it on. You shouldn't deal with that. You'll be a little bit behind, but at least you won't be buffering all the time. First Amendment auditor. I'm not really sure what that means. So Jacob Zuma's Mkhonto we Sizwe party is in a lot of trouble when one of the insiders has reported that they forged the signatures to get on the petition. Wow. See, it still didn't work right. Jacob Zuma's Mkhonto we Sizwe party reportedly forged signatures to meet the Independent Electoral Commission's threshold. Former President Zuma's party has been accused of extensively forging signatures to qualify for the upcoming national elections. This claim comes from a former senior official of the party in a statement submitted to the Western Cape Police last week. Wow. So the gentleman actually went to the police and filed a statement. I'll tell you what, if you lie to the police, there's jeopardy attached. Must be true. In a statement, Lennox Nsodo states that in February he appointed a team of 20 people to assist with the mass forgery of signatures after the Electoral Commission of South Africa rejected the MK's initial application. Now, is this a true story or is this an ANC plant? Look, things are so Orwellian in South Africa that this could very well be an ANC plant who's trying to besmirch the MK party. Is that real? Wow. I'm just putting it out there. I don't know what the truth of the matter is. But the bottom line here is, folks, at the MK party, this allegation does not make them look good. So back to the story. In his statement, he said the team allegedly fraudulently obtained names, identity numbers, and cell phone numbers of job seekers from a database of the Cape Metro Council. They also acquired personal details of members of a funeral association. Wow. City Press's sister publication Rapport, the Afrikaans reporter, has seen the evidence Nsondo presented to the police, including some of the signed supporter lists submitted to the IC and information downloaded from the job seeker database. Although Nsondo did not mention the origin of the information in his affidavit, the publication has determined that it belongs to Cape Metro Council. The publication called 15 people on the supporters list, 14 of whom denied ever signing the MK list. Oh, brother, it's not an ANC plant. Apparently it's real. The MK party is in deep kimchi. This could very well find criminal charges filed against this upstart party of racism and bigotry. That's right. We're going to talk about how racist and bigoted the MK party is. And Jacob Zuma, a man who for a long time has claimed that he had no problems with other South Africans, they get along well, especially with Afrikaners, proves that he's nothing more than a cheap race hustler. Wow. We're going to talk about that. The manifesto of Umkhonto we Sizwe talks about our people. We will retake. Now, of course, he's talking only about black South Africans, of course, ignoring entirely the history of South Africa, which, of course, black South Africans aren't one group of people, folks. Black South Africans comprise of multiple groups of people, and those multiple groups of people are an outgrowth of the destruction, elimination, absorption of hundreds of small independent tribes, particularly by the Ndebele and the Zulu, who crushed opposition, raped, and assimilated the previous parties that lived in the Free State, in Gauteng, and in KwaZulu-Natal. But hey, you know what? Let's just pretend that white folks and black folks are different. No different whatsoever. Well, what do I have to say about this revelation that the MK party may have forged signatures? Bazinga! Gotcha. Actually, no, it's not a joke. It's true. One person the publication called was so outraged to learn that his number was included on the list, he later sent 2 voice messages stressing his anger over the situation. Another resident of Masakar denied signing the list, but confirmed that she had previously registered as on a job seeker database. Publication tested several ID numbers on the signed supporters list, the IEC's website. About half the numbers in the sample represented registered voters, while the others indicated as invalid ID numbers. Oh my goodness. Leon says, forgery from the biggest corrupt person in South Africa is shocking. Indeed. But you knew that was coming. You knew it was coming. Meanwhile, the Cape Independence Party, which met the threshold with 11,900 signatures to appear on the ballot, has been denied access to the ballot by a captured, corrupt, independent electoral commission. South Africa's elections very much in jeopardy here. Danger at every turn, Will Robinson. MK Party has apparently expelled rogue elements, including the party's founder, Jabulani Khumalo, has been kicked out. The man who registered Umkhonto we Sizwe on behalf of former President Zuma has been expelled from the party. Party spokesperson Lamolo Ndela revealed Friday evening that Jabulani Khumalo and 4 others have been axed for attempting to destabilize the party. Other members who have been expelled are Ray Khumalo, Becky Manzini, Lebo Mopeng, and Rochelle Davidson. Wow. We urge all MK members to be disciplined and trust the leadership as we work towards gaining support for a campaign that will emancipate the downtrodden people of our country. Does that include the poor Afrikaners living in abject poverty in informal settlements northwest of Pretoria? Does it include the people living in poverty who are colored, who are Indian? Or is it only your favorite class of people whose skin pigmentation matches your desired outcome there, MK? Wow. Well, MK kicking its own members out. Hey, let's take a look at the MK website since we're talking all MK all the time. Umkhonto we Sizwe's party leader, Jacob Zuma, right there. The convicted criminal under the apartheid government and under the all-black government of the ANC. That's right, it used to be a multiracial, but now it's the all-black party. Let's look at their manifesto, which is 3 weeks late. Okay, come on. You can go there. Not the fastest server they're on. Come on, MK. There we go. So they're committed to transformative change across all sectors of South African society. Our policies are designed to address the most pressing challenges we face today. Economic inequality, access to quality education and healthcare, national security threats, inequitable land distribution, and the need for robust traditional leadership and foreign policies that reflect our values and aspirations. I'm sorry, and this is going to be taken by black supremacists, hate wankers are going to take this video, but you know what? I'm just going to state the facts. When Europeans arrived in the Western Cape, there were no factories. There were no gold mines in South. Now, there were in Zimbabwe. Hundreds of years prior, Great Zimbabwe sold gold to the Portuguese, to the Chinese, to Africans, yeah. But there were no gold mines, no diamond mines, no platinum mines, no industrial base in South Africa, no organized agriculture. It was cattle-based and subsistence-based. The Khoi with their cattle, the San who were hunters and gatherers, and the Xhosa and the Venda and what later became the Zulu did not have mines or an industrial base. They didn't have financial sectors. They didn't have electricity except when lightning hit the veld or hit the forest in KZN. What inequitable land distribution talking about? The land should be returned to the Khoi and San and the coloreds, and the rest of you ought to foot sec if you want to play this stupid game, MK. You race-hustling, racist party that you are. And you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to try to get someone from MK on here to listen to the garbage that they want to spew. And I'll give them a chance to tell us what their platform is and see how well they appeal to voters. Probably won't take me up on that. But we will try to get them on the program. Yeah, they got the names from Funeral Home Company. That's right, Funeral Home Company. Funeral Home Company. Well, Shirley de Villiers in Financial Mail does an op-ed about the MK manifesto, and I will also do a video, prepared video about this manifesto, which is disgusting and vile to say the very least. The manifesto offers a laundry list of grand promises, but hardly a notion of how to fund them. Unsurprising, coming from the Radical Economic Transformation spinoff. Despite promises, the manifesto launched on April 6th came and went with little show from Jacob Zuma's MK party. Then on Friday, the party quietly dropped a 24-page manifesto on its website. It's exactly what you'd expect from the Radical Economic Transformation offshoot of the ANC: expropriation of all land without compensation, nationalization of the Reserve Bank, mines, banks, insurance companies, ArcelorMittal South Africa, and Sasol, reversing privatization, undoing the unjust transition, and unwinding state apparatus beholden to white monopoly capital, and ridding the country of an alien capitalist culture. Big ticket promises: an introduction of 1,558 Rand basic income grant, pushing up the child support grant to 760 Rand, the old age grant to 4,500, and providing a minimum salary of 4,500 to all who are willing to work and able. Of course, none of that money is going to come from anywhere except out of the pockets, mostly of the black elites and the white working class. Yeah. So I have downloaded this MK nonsense. Let's go ahead and get to that very quickly here. Where's it at? MK's People's Manifesto. Here we go. Let's go with this bad boy. The People's Mandate, Mkhonto Isizwe. Let's go ahead and take a look at that very quickly here. I'm not going to go through it all now because I'm going to cover it in a video, but the People's Mandate. Look, ooh, look at that. The fist and the, look at these people in the BDSM, fisting, reclaiming our birthright. Do they realize that that's almost a poster for a gay nightclub? The manifesto towards a developmental agenda. Yes, it's reclaiming our dignity, reclaiming our land, reclaiming people's power, reclaiming our economy. I'm sorry, there was no economy save for cattle rustling prior to European arrival. Yeah, here we go. We, the people of South Africa, recognize 1994 breakthrough that seemed to be a strategic victory for our people has turned into a strategic defeat. Again, who are our people? South African society is adrift from its core values and struggling with moral decay. That's true. Compound these issues as a liberal constitution that constrains the political influence of the majority. No, it doesn't. It reflects the political influence of the majority, which is led by majority black South Africans who are corrupt and stealing. It very, very much reflects the majority. In practice, true wielders of power are unelected institutions and those with money. Our prolonged period of national shame since 1652 as a result of inadequate scientific, industrial, financial, military capabilities. So that's a racist statement because apparently the only people that matter are black South Africans. Never mind the fact that the Zulu wiped out everyone else. Never mind the fact that the Ndebele preyed on all the tribes in the Basotho language family and all as Ndebele all over the Free State and all over Gauteng. Never mind that the Xhosa preyed on the Khoi. Never mind all of this nonsense and warfare taking place between black Africans in South Africa. We're just going to ignore all that. The national shame began in 1652, not with the Bantu migrations down the Great Rift Valley, wiping out and pushing aside indigenous populations. You see the black population of South Africa is as alien to South Africa as the white population is. You're all frickin' foreigners. Get the frick out, foot-sec, every one of you. There you go. How you like them apples? Yeah. You like them apples? Come on. Yeah. Yeah, there, MK. Racist. Wow. The foundational issues of poverty, unemployment, and inequality stem from the theft of land and mineral resources. Absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. The fundamental issues of poverty, unemployment, and inequality stem from a corrupt, thieving party which had the opportunity to put South Africa on a path to prosperity for all. Instead of improving education, they've weakened education across the board. So bad now that people can pass higher education and be considered qualified for university with a 30% passing grade in 3 subjects and only need to speak 40% in their mother tongue. How pathetic is that? 90 murders per day now in South Africa. Shocking the level of crime and violence, gang rape, gender-based violence, rape, domestic abuse, incest, no electricity, crumbling infrastructure, Russian influence, Chinese owning the economy. Everywhere you look, South Africa is a disaster. And this is all brought to you by the ANC. There weren't 30 million blacks living in poverty under the National Party. There weren't even 30 million blacks in South Africa under the National Party. And apartheid didn't end in 1994. That's the other big lie. It was all over by 1992, the last of the racist legislation. In fact, by 1990, almost all of it was gone. Completely gone. It was the whites who dismantled apartheid, not the African National Congress. Their claim of liberation is a lie. They didn't liberate anything except themselves to be thieves. That's all they eliminated. Wow. Recentering our country on African cultural and moral values accommodative of various spiritual beliefs and persuasions. Yes, because that works so well in the Congo. It works so well in the Central African Republic, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Gabon, in Chad, in Niger, in Tanzania. All these great success stories of powerhouses of innovation, entrepreneurialism, prosperity. No. Instead of focusing on talent, Africans focus on patronage. Asians focus on talent. And look at Singapore, look at Malaysia, Taiwan, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan, engines of growth, job creation, prosperity. Different models, but success. All of those countries were in worse shape, save Japan, were in worse shape than anywhere in Africa in 1960. In 1960. South Korea was an economic basket case. Now it's a powerhouse of global technology, innovation, prosperity, and wealth. Despite the fact they had to devote huge sums of their national GDP to national defense. South Africa is a joke under the ANC, and it's pathetic and it's sad. So sad to see. Nationalizing strategic mines, ArcelorMittal and Sasol. ArcelorMittal is a foreign company. Nationalize it, and watch the foreign direct investment flee your country even faster pace than it's going right now. The stupidity of organizations like Mkoto Wesizwe and the ANC and the Economic Freedom Fighters is just gobsmacking. It's unbelievable. Ensure free, mandatory, high-quality education for early childhood to postgraduate level to boost human capital and research capability. What? There's no such thing as free. Somebody's paying for it. When the foreign direct investment leaves and no more Toyota factories, no more Mitsubishi factories, no more BMW factories, no more Google, no more Yahoo, no more Microsoft comes to the country, where are you going to get the money from? Where are you going to get the money from? You already owe 5 trillion rand in debt that you've run up under the ANC. To be fair, they inherited debt, but they paid down much of it, and now they've risen it crazily. Unbelievable. Ensure every young person reach the age of 18 serves a year in military service to cultivate discipline and patriotism among youth. How? The existing South African National Defense Force is broke. It has no money. And it has a whole bunch of corrupt senior officers, as we've seen exposed recently. The SANDF cannot feed its troops. It cannot maintain its barracks. It cannot maintain operational capability for any of its white elephant projects like the Gripens, like the Hawk lead-in fighter trainers, like the cruisers, like the Type 209 diesel submarines. They can't do anything. It's a total disaster. And you're going to put hundreds of thousands of South Africans or tens of thousands into the military through conscription? What kind of moron comes up with a strategy like this? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. No job, no vote. More angst for the ANC, folks. Now we're going to turn our attention from MK to the ANC. Kwakwa locals give the ANC an ultimatum. No job, no vote was the ultimatum the desperate ANC supporters had for the ruling ANC in Kwakwa in the Free State today. Disgruntled supporters threatened not to vote as they gathered at the Putu Habijaba Stadium ahead of ANC President Ramaphosa's planned visit to the Free State. ANC's in trouble. The government of the African National Congress is threatening those on social media like me. Ooh, you're threatening social media users. Look at me, running scared. Ooh, I just ran past myself. I'm so frightened of the ANC's threats to free speech. Your constitution guarantees free speech, but you don't like that, do you? No. Of course, under the guise of threats to the elections, no, the threat to the election is exposing the African National Congress for the frauds and the corrupt kleptocrats they are. The threat to the election is exposing MK for the race-hustling, racist party that is. The threat to the election is exposing EFF and its slimy money, dirty money ties. That's the threat to the election. Those aren't threats. That's free speech. And the ANC doesn't like free speech. We saw that during COVID. The government warns of zero tolerance for people behaving badly on social media. Well, what is behaving badly? In a joint press conference presented by ministers from Justice, Crime Prevention, Security Cluster, Defense, and Military Veterans Minister Thandi Modise said sharing false, unverified information, rumors, or threats online or in person can have serious consequences. Really? So reporting the news can have serious consequences in South Africa. Well, imagine that. Hardly a shocker, ladies and gentlemen. Hardly a shocker. So get ready for it. They will silence people on social media. When an individual creates a video or shares a post to the public where the post contains words, speech, or conduct that may encourage others to commit public violence, the aforementioned post will make one guilty of offense of inciting public violence, and police will not hesitate to track the person down and hold you accountable. Really? Why is Doo-Doo Brain Zuma not in prison? Doo-Doo Brain Zuma made a video encouraging violence in 2021, never charged with a crime. This is a lie. This is meant to suppress free speech. What they're saying here is already a crime. If someone incites violence, that's a crime, except if you're a Zuma. Then you get a free pass or an ANC cater. What a bunch of nonsense. Do not make inflammatory or threatening statements as you will be breaking the law. Duh! It's always been breaking law. But doo-doo dumbhead, doo-doo dumbass, doo-doo cock brain, Zuma didn't face any consequences. Julius Blama threatens to murder white people. He sings about murdering white people, and he goes free. What a bunch of nonsense. The defense minister lays down the law, says the IOL, Independent Online, saying that she's laying down the law. She has no authority here unless martial law is declared. Defense minister lays down the law. Those who plan to disrupt the elections will be dealt with. Really? Like doo-doo caca brain Zuma? Minister of Defense Thandi Modise has warned that no incitement of violence, lawlessness, destruction of infrastructure, barricading of roads will be tolerated during elections. Oh, now you're not going to allow barricading of roads. It happens every freaking day. People burning cables on the roads, burning tires on the roads, threatening public safety, shooting foreign tourists in Cape Town at Airport Junction. And you didn't give a flying flip about that. Now you suddenly care about barricades? Why? Because you're worried that your brainwashed idiot voters who vote based on skin color, not on competence, are not going to get to the polls? Spare me your nonsense, Thandi Modise. So, speaking of stupidity, Gwede Mantashe weighs in on the BHP Billiton proposal to buy Anglo American. Here's a little hint for Gwede Mantashe. You can't do squat, you moron. Gwede Mantashe has no say over Anglo-American. Do you know why? Because Anglo-American smartly delisted from Johannesburg and relisted on the London Stock Exchange. And you have no control over London. So take it and shove it, Gwede Mantashe. He says, well, we would have blocked the bid. No, you wouldn't. You have no authority whatsoever. And this is a stupidity that undermines global commerce and foreign direct investment in South Africa's economy. Exclusion of South African assets and BHP proposal, a sign of no confidence in country, analysts say. South Africa's mining minister has come out against the proposed £31 billion takeover. Anglo American warning the world's biggest miner would decimate the character the company pioneered in South Africa, just as did after merging with Billiton in 2001. Now, what he means is that if you take this company and you sell it, and the South African assets are managed by a competent company that doesn't believe in race hustling and appointing people who are not qualified based on their skin color, then your transformative policies will suffer a major blow in South Africa. That's right. That's right. That's what he's concerned about. The hiring of incompetent cadres is at risk. The doling out of patronage of slices and shares of a corporation to favored political friends by the ANC is at risk. That's why. But he has no say. It's listed in the London Stock Exchange. So Futsek, hit the road, Jack, and don't come back. Another Gwede Mantashe moronic moment. Well, Parliament. Hey, South Africa's Parliament. 90 murders a day, trillions of debt, unbelievable corruption, pervasive everywhere. Jacob Zuma, apparently his party's forging signatures. Yet the South African National Council of Provinces is concerned about passing laws to punish companies over emissions for climate change. South Africa doesn't have the luxury of playing this game of climate religion with climate zealots. You do not have that luxury. You've screwed the pooch. You're not going to get the $11 billion promised by the EU and US because of your corruption and your behavior. That money is not forthcoming anytime soon. You shut down your coal-fired power plants. You tried to burn rocks painted as coal, and it doesn't work. Now you're burning through diesel at record amounts, driving up the price of diesel for consumers and making electricity prohibitively costly for corporations that buy it. But now they're focused on climate change. The law paves the way for transition to a low-carbon economy, allows government to put in place more ambitious targets for greenhouse gas emitters. Does the National Council of Provinces think that magically passing a law simply makes this all happen? They are just as delusional as Joe Biden's EPA. Seriously.
After, going to my mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. Last night on the television. I was on the telephone. Rapidly right.
Last night I was on the television, on the telephone. My mind's going blank now. Just as idiotic as that fool is the National Council of Provinces in South Africa. Unbelievable. Is LMC here? Welcome. Any Bushman tribes that would have absorbed and become part of the heritage of Zulu, just as ever the pre-Zulu nation, eventually some. Untrue, LMC. They fled away, many of them, long before they ever got to KZN. Russian cargo planes are costing South African taxpayers a fortune and money that the National Party, that the SANDF does not have. Wow. Unbelievable here, folks. Unbelievable what's going on. More money being wasted. Where do we get our clicks? Because you're in close proximity. You don't have clicks in Zulu. You have clicks in Xhosa. What clicks do you have in Zulu? Copying. It's the satirist form of flattery, LMC. Russian cargo planes. Well, we have clicks in English too, but they're not from Xhosa, or from the Khoi and San. Russian cargo planes in South Africa to ferry military equipment to DRC. South African taxpayers are bearing the cost of a massive airlift between Uppington in the Northern Cape and Bloemfontein, Waterkloof, and Goma in the DRC. Wow, these flights used to be paid for by the Democratic Republic of Congo, but now, for reasons unknown, the South Africans are paying for this. Wow, folks, this is crazy. Aviation insiders say a total of up to 80 return flights are needed from South Africa. The planes fly fresh equipment to DRC and bring back unserviceable vehicles. The troops sent over are part of military contribution to Southern African Regional Task Force being assembled in Goma. Well, you're on the hook for that. Peacekeeping mission, you're paying for that. And what are you getting out of it? Hey, what ANC members getting what out of the Congo? Are they getting coltan, gold, diamonds? What are they getting? What is the ANC getting out of this mission in the Congo? Nothing. It's a fool's errand, but it's costing you a fortune. 30 years of democracy, South Africa today is a infinitely better place, says Cyril Ramaphosa. Really? Really? In 1994, there were 32 million South Africans, the majority of them black, and they did not live in poverty. By 1994, they no longer had restrictions with idiotic pass laws. There were no longer any laws preventing mixing of races with missing nation and having offspring. There were no laws barring travel, owning property. No one was being removed from their homes. None of that had happened for a few years, and for at least 2 years when the last of those laws were gone. That was 1994. Jump forward to 2024, and all of that remains true. However, today there are over 30 million black South Africans living in abject poverty because of the policies of the ANC. There are people who have an expectation the state owes them something, must give them something, instead of earning their way in life. There is an expectation of dumbed down, lowered standards, especially amongst South Africa's black population, by the ANC government, which is racist and shameful. Shameful in expecting people to perform just 30% in a subject to graduate and attend university. And I don't want to hear that, well, those people don't go to school. It doesn't matter. They're hoodwinked. They're led to believe that they've graduated from high school. Hey, congratulations, Lorato, you've graduated from school with 32% in math and 34% in science and 38% in geography and 43% in your first language of Tswana. Congratulations. Now go get a job. What a bunch of nonsense. The country is not infinitely better. It is infinitely worse. 90 murders per day. Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Sir Ramaphosa and his fairy tales. Ramaphosa delivered his freedom address in a semi-packed marquee on the lawns of the Union buildings in Shwana. He said anyone who denies that South Africa is infinitely a better place than it was 30 years ago was willfully shut their eyes to the positive changes that came with democracy. Positive changes. Well, you didn't have any money 30 years ago. Now you're worth $400 million, so I suppose that's positive. Tokyo Sexwale was poor. Now he's a billionaire. Let's see. What else has happened? Santon City exists. It's been blown up into this massive wealthy spot for the rich, nouveau rich black elites that live there. Yeah, that's nice if you get to hang out in Santon City. Alexandria still exists, and it's still full of poor people without services. Khayelitsha exists now, and the Cape Flats is flooded with refugees from the rest of South Africa fleeing ANC governance. What else? Oh, yeah, that's right. Gender-based violence off the charts, rape off the charts, corruption off the charts, PPE theft, the oil gate, the travel gate, the Nkanla scandal. The list goes on and on and on. The Vreda dairy farm, the asbestos tenders, Zandile Gumeda and her 168 counts of corruption. The list never ends. It never ends. The corruption is so pervasive. The rot is so bad. South Africa's economy has imploded. It was the powerhouse engine of Africa. It no longer is. Superseded by Nigeria's economy is now nearly twice the size of South Africa's. What an embarrassment. Roads you can't drive over, potholes deeper than the depth of your tire. Unbelievable. No electricity. HIV, 7.8 million HIV positive South Africans. Decades after we've known how it's transmitted and how to avoid it, we have even more, ever more South Africans subjected to HIV because of the negligence and the stupidity of a timid government. Unbelievable. This is South Africa. No water, no electricity, no petrol, no jobs, no hope. There you go, folks. Infinitely better than it was 30 years ago? No. See, they need to stop lying. They need to go back and say South Africa is better today than it was in 1985. By that measure, you can make a point that it is, but not better than 1994. That's a flat out lie. And the ANC did not deliver liberation to South Africa. They were but one of many organizations involved. What they delivered to South Africa was racism, race hustling, and necklacing. That's what the ANC's legacy is. Necklacing. The murder of 20,000 Inkatha supporters in KZN, in KwaZulu-Natal, in the 1980s and 1990s. That is their legacy. That is their legacy. Speaking of South Africa and the ANC's legacy, a ward councillor has been murdered in Rustenburg. A manhunt launched for suspects linked to a ward councillor's murder in Rustenburg on Friday. Incident happened in the Fotsangeng village in the evening as a councillor, 54 years of age, and her cousin were headed home from local shop. According to information available at this stage, the victim and her cousin were approaching the gate when one of four unknown men who were following them got close and allegedly fired 2 shots. The victim's cousin ran into the yard and screamed for help. As a result, the victim's brother came out of the house and spotted the suspects running away and fleeing in a BMW. Oh, a BMW, not a Polo, a BMW. The victim's cousin ran. Okay, the woman who was shot below the left ear and in the forehead was declared dead by paramedics. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, counselors killed. That is the ANC's paradise. Guns everywhere, except in the hands of law-abiding citizens. And a double homicide rocks dispatch outside of Port Elizabeth. Nelson Mandela Bay police are on the hunt for those responsible for killing 2 people in dispatch earlier in the week. Their bodies were found littered with gunshot wounds in Solire Botoman Street in Kayamandandi on Monday night. Police spokesperson Captain Sandra Jansa van Rensburg said the Provincial Serious and Violent Crimes Unit in Gaberna were probing 2 cases of murder. One deceased was later identified as 32-year-old Luvuyo Msiba. The second was identified. The motive for the shooting is unknown. Gangsters running rampant all over South Africa. Well, rugby, as I said yesterday, things went a little bit better than we expected. The Stormers rolling over Leinster, a weakened Leinster side, which loses back-to-back games in South Africa to the Lions and to the Stormers. Meanwhile, the Bulls roll all over the Osprey to keep themselves in contention and stay in 4th place. The Stormers move up to 5th place in the log. So there you have it. And as things ended today, they would be playing at Loftus against the Bulls. Stormers blow Leinster away. John Dobson's side scored 5 times on the way to victory, with Monty Libet contributing 17 points off the boot. The bonus point win will see the Stormers end the round in 5th position in standings and 6 points behind the 4th place Bulls. Leinster have dropped to 2nd place after their South African tour, leaving Glasgow at the top. But don't get too excited. Glasgow won't stay there for long. The Democratic Republic of Congo has withdrawn former President Joseph Kabila's security and support staff. What's going on there? All government employees assigned to Kabila's official residences were being removed as of April 30th. Wow. Last month, Laurent Desire Kabila Foundation was raided by state security. Joseph Kabila's twin sister was summoned by military intelligence, questioned for 4 hours. Wow, this is evil. They're going after their predecessors. Governments. Well, facing pressure from the activists, World Bank has suspended funds for a Tanzanian tourism project. Yep, the World Bank suspended funding for a tourism project in Tanzania that caused the suffering of tens of thousands of villagers, according to Human Rights Watch, based in New York. The World Bank's decision to spend a $150 million project, which aims to improve the management of natural resource and tourism assets in a remote part of southern Tanzania, was long overdue, the Oakland Institute said Tuesday, charging that the bank's failure to take immediate action resulted in serious harm for local communities. $100 million has already been spent on the project since 2017, $50 million yet to be dispersed. But Tanzania denies that these human rights abuses are taking place. There is the misogynist in chief, Samia Suluhu Hassan, who hates women and the evil things she says about the national soccer team. Tanzania dismissed as unfounded allegations of killings, rapes, and the planned evictions of over 20,000 people that led the World Bank to suspend funding on that project. The Resilient Natural Resource Management for Tourism and Growth Project, or REGROW, was launched to improve the management of natural resource and tourism assets in southern Tanzania. But the Oakland Institute, a California-based think tank, raised allegations in September of forced evictions, rights abuses, killing, and sexual assaults of communities living near the Ruaha National Park. Park rangers were implicated in the murders of several villagers and numerous incidents of violence since the project began in 2017. Well, so much for that. Somalia reports that U.S.-trained troops are stealing food. Yep. Somalia reports food diversion involving U.S.-trained soldiers. The Somali government was admitted that rations for the elite Somali soldiers trained by the United States have been diverted within a unit of its forces. In a statement issued late Thursday, the government said it had conducted an investigation which resulted in the suspension and detention of officers. The number and identity of the officers have not been disclosed. Somali National Forces over the past few years have enhanced their accountability measures in line with its reform agenda. During these investigations, Somali National Armed Forces have reported diversion of Danab rations within a unit of its forces. Folks, corruption happens all the time, not a surprise. Now, here's some more corruption. This is serious corruption in Kenya, where the government was selling fake fertilizer. Selling, not giving, fake fertilizer to farmers. Wow, unbelievable. Kenyan First Lady tries hushing fake fertilizer scandal by claiming prayers are the best fertilizer. No, prayers are not the best fertilizer, sorry. Yep, she said that in Kenya, we see our president talk about fertilizers for our farmers. In Uganda, they do not use fertilizers. Their land is very fertile and there is enough rain. Actually, that is a lie. That is a false statement. Uganda does use fertilizer. I lived in Uganda, and Uganda's been using fertilizer since the end of the Second World War. A factually incorrect lie spread by the president's wife. Administration of President William Ruto is facing scrutiny after a fake fertilizer scandal involving senior government officials. Now, this storm erupted after the Kenyan Bureau of Standards tested the government-subsidized fertilizer distributed to farmers. Subsidized, but sold. Yeah. Fake fertilizer probe. Yep. The results showed the fertilizer was counterfeit. It turned out to be diatomite packaged in government-branded bags and sold to unsuspecting farmers by the National Cereals and Produce Board. Wow. Unbelievable. Government selling fake fertilizer. Corruption is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. In Harrisburg, everywhere. Burkina Faso is in a row over a claim that 220 villagers were killed. This one's Human Rights Watch, not the other report. That's the Oakland organization. Burkina Faso army executed over 220 villagers, according to Human Rights Watch. The military in February summarily executed 223 villagers, including 56 children, as part of a campaign against civilians accused of collaborating with jihadists. The watchdog group Human Rights Watch made the assertion in a report based on its own investigation in the reported execution of 170 people in attacks in 3 villages in the northern Yatenga province in late February. Burkina Faso did not take this lying down. They're not happy. They say that the allegations by Human Rights Watch are baseless. The report came out Thursday. Human Rights Watch report on Thursday accused the military of executing residents of Nodin and Soro, including 56 children. New York-based group said its report was based on telephone interviews with witnesses, civil society, and others. The killings led to the opening of a legal inquiry. The minister expressed his surprise that while this inquiry is underway to establish the facts and identify the authors, Human Rights Watch has been able, with boundless imagination, to identify the guilty and pronounce its verdict. Well, they've taken action, has Burkina Faso. They have blocked the broadcast, I don't know how you're doing this, of the BBC and of the Voice of America for reporting these purported killings. Burkina Faso suspended the radio broadcast of BBC Africa and U.S.-funded Voice of America for 2 weeks over their coverage of a Human Rights Watch report accusing the army of extrajudicial killings. Human Rights Watch said the Burkinabe army has repeatedly committed mass atrocities. The BBC has received a letter from the Conseil supérieur de la communication confirming the suspension of our broadcast operations in Burkina Faso for 2 weeks in direct response to our journalism on a report by Human Rights Watch. In a statement, acting Voice of America director John Lippman asked Burkina Faso's government to reconsider its troubling decision. VOA stands by its reporting about Burkina Faso and intends to continue to fully and fairly cover events in that country. Things unraveling in the Sahel, folks. Speaking of the Sahel, the U.S.-Niger breakup, according to analysts, as I said, was an own goal, entirely preventable as a result of the incompetence of the jackass Joe administration, Joe Biden. 5 weeks after the Nigerian government ordered U.S. troops to leave the country, the U.S. Wednesday announced a meeting with Niger's military rulers for an exit strategy. Experts have faulted Washington for the unraveling of its military ties with Niger. As 100 military personnel prepare to leave Chad, it's all falling apart. An Iraqi TikTok star was murdered, ostensibly for her videos. Iraqi TikTok star shot dead outside her Baghdad home. Fahad was fatally shot in a late-night attack outside her home in Baghdad. The lone assailant on a motorbike approached her, Fahad, whose legal name is Gufran Sawadi, as she sat in the back of a black SUV Friday night. He fired shots inside the car before running off, according to security camera footage aired by Iraqi TV. Iraq's interior minister said it had set up a team to investigate the killing. No arrests have been made. She became popular on TikTok with nearly 500,000 followers and videos of herself dancing to Iraqi music and showing her daily life. Last year, the government went after her and tried to imprison her for violating its morals and traditions laws. You can apply all the Western logic you want to Iraq, and it still returns to the Stone Age, ladies and gentlemen. That's the bottom line. A tornado has killed 5 in Guangzhou. A Chinese city has been battered by recent rains. Videos shared by Chinese official media show transmission towers and power lines igniting debris, swirling in the air in a city, a manufacturing and technology hub by the Pearl River. Tornado swept through the southern Chinese economic hub of Guangzhou, killing 5 people and damaged scores of factory buildings on Saturday. It struck at 3 p.m. and injured another 33 people, Guangzhou. Japanese town is had enough. And this is something I'm going to make a video about too, about the theft of cultural icons, of natural wonders from humanity. Started with Ayers Rock in Australia, which you can no longer climb. You're not allowed to do that anymore over a spurious claim that it was some sort of ancestral place, never before identified as such, but now identified. Ayers Rock, now Venice, which is charging admission fees like Disney World, and now Mount Fuji in Japan. A Japanese town is going to put up a mesh barrier so you can't take photographs. They don't want people coming to their town. What a bunch of idiots. Japanese town blocking view of Mount Fuji after being overrun by selfie-taking tourists. Japanese town with breathtaking views of Mount Fuji has become so overrun with selfie-taking tourists that it's putting up a barrier to block the picturesque vista of the sacred mountain. Fujigawakuchiko at the foot of the Yoshida Trail is inundated with foreigners seeking the perfect picture of the mountain. Most sought-after shot is in front of a large Lawson, a Japanese convenience store, with the mountain looming in the background, highlighting the stark contrast between the fluorescent lit shop and the gorgeous natural landscape. But now they want to stop it. They're going to put up a mesh sign to keep people from overrunning it. Now, there's a nice view of Mount Fuji there from a different angle. So, natural wonders being blocked from humanity. Thousands protest in Madrid in support of the prime minister, telling him, do not resign. Thousands rally to urge Spanish leader Pedro Sanchez to not resign. This over a purported claim by right-wing groups that his wife is corrupt. Sanchez stunned Spain on Wednesday when he announced that he was canceling his itinerary while he considers whether or not to resign after what he described as a smear campaign against his wife. Sanchez's shocking announcement came hours after a Spanish judge opened a preliminary investigation into the allegation of corruption made against his wife by a group of aligned with right-wing interests. He said the allegations were spurious, but he's still considering resigning. Why is that? Venice, the iconic city in the water in northeastern Italy, is charging entrance fees. Yeah, that's right, folks. Venice residents clashed with riot police. The city launches the world's first tourist entry fee. It's not the first tourist entry fee. Manhattan has congestion fee. London has congestion fee, and they screw tourists with that. Venice became the first city in the world to charge a payment for tourists in an attempt to alleviate the pressures of mass tourism and make the city more livable. So what does that mean? Alleviate the pressures. Does that mean they want less tourists? There's only 50-some thousand people left in Venice. It used to be a city of hundreds of thousands. The pilot program will exact €5 fee from day trippers going to Venice, one of Italy's most picturesque and historic cities. The new fee came into effect on Thursday. Charge applies to tourists arriving between 8:30 and 4 p.m. local time, while access is free outside those hours. Day trippers who fail to pay the fees face a €50 fine and €300. Wow. Overnight travelers who stay with the municipality are exempt from the charge but must have a QR code to pass through. Protesters were seen clashing with riot police over the pilot program. No to ticket, yes to houses and services for all. Venice is not sold, it is defended. Wow. Venice Mayor Luigi Brunganaro said that the first objective of the charge was that the cultural transition seems to have been achieved. Look at this. Look at this protest in Venice. Wow. Residents, specifically the estimated 50,000 live in the city's historic area, are far outnumbered by some 5.5 million who visited the city in 2019. Many disembarked from cruise ships by the thousands to take photographs and not spend a whole lot of money. So Venice is up in arms, in flames over this nonsense. Well, here's a story that shouldn't shock anybody if you know anything about history. This one here will shock some people, but it's not exactly news groundbreaking. I've known about this for a long time, and as a historian, I've known about this. But so, Courtney Bride just gave $1.99. How's the campaign? It's over. The election was on April 23rd. Courtney, you are 5 days behind. The election is over and done and dusted. So the primary is over. Bones of 1800s battlefield dug up for fertilizer. That's right, folks. The farm fields of the British Isles and the farm fields of Western Europe have been fertilized with the bones of soldiers killed during the Napoleonic War. We've known about this for ages. It's not exactly a secret. They ground up human bones to make fertilizer. Bones of 1800s battlefield dead may have been dug up for fertilizer. Yes, they were, for the phosphates in them. Through swirling smoke from cannon and musket fire, Marshal Michel Ney squinted at the center of the English line at Waterloo, June 18th, 1815. The French commander could see the British regiments leaving the field. He ordered 12,000 heavy cavalry troops to charge Duke Wellington's position. So, since 2012, only 2 skeletons have been found at the famous battlefield. An estimated 20,000 soldiers died that day, but very few graves have been discovered during active archaeological searches. Well, that's because they dug the bones up and used them for fertilizer. Yep. Historians Bernard Wilken of Belgium and Robin Schaefer of Germany contend the bones of the dead at Waterloo and those of many other battles across Europe, Africa, and even the United States were ground up to produce fertilizer for agriculture and bone char for filtering sugar. It's a practice that can best be described as industrial-scale grave robbing. Yeah, no doubt. This is not a secret. It's disgusting, but we've known about it. Schaefer pointed out that several battles took place around Waterloo. When you factor in all the casualties and sick soldiers who died in the hospitals, there were about 130,000 French and Allied soldiers who died there. Archaeologists found a number of empty pits, but we didn't know why they'd been empty. Because mass graves, they dug them up. Bones were valuable because they could be ground into meal for farmers' fields. It wasn't just human bones. Estimated 500,000 to 1 million horses died at Waterloo. Yep. In the 1830s, production of sugar from beets became economically viable. The process used bone char, bones that had been converted to charcoal through incomplete combustion to filter sugar from the beets. Yep. Excavation of battlefields accelerated. This is not exactly news, folks. I don't know why people are surprised that that's news. Long lines forming in Cuba, ladies and gentlemen, where there's no cash. That's right. The communist paradise of Cuba. Alejandro Fonseca stood in line for several hours outside a bank in Havana, hoping to withdraw Cuban pesos from an ATM. But when it was almost his turn, the cash ran out. He ran on his electric tricycle and traveled several kilometers to another branch where he managed to withdraw some money after wasting an entire morning. There's no money, no cash in Cuba. Hardly a surprise. Of course, they'll blame that on the U.S. embargo, which is only in effect with the U.S. Cuba trades with the rest of the world. If you can't make a profit from trading with the rest of the world, don't blame us. World Economic Forum president says we've not seen this level of debt since the Napoleonic Wars. Borge Brenda, president of the World Economic Forum, gave a stark outlook for the global economy. He said governments need to consider how to reduce the debt and take the right fiscal measures without getting in a situation where it kicks off recession. Yes, indeed. Trade will change, global value change. There will be some near-shoring and friend-sharing, but we shouldn't lose the baby with the bathwater. Then we have to address the global debt situation. We haven't had this kind of debt since the Napoleonic Wars. We're getting close to 100% of global GDP in debt. Statement of fact there. And the U.S. is leading the charts. Yep. Well, the Gallup poll finds that jackass Joe Biden is at his worst approval rating in history for a president. The 81-year-old Democrat notched the lowest approval rating at 38.7 of any president at this point in their first term in office, according to the Gallup pollsters. None of the other 9 presidents elected to their first term since Dwight Eisenhower had a lower 13th quarter average than Biden, referring to the period between January 20th and April 19th. From a broader historical perspective, Biden's most recent quarterly average ranks 277th out of 314 presidential quarters in Gallup records dating to 1945. Puts it in the bottom 12% of all presidential quarters. What shocks me is that 38% of Americans actually think this guy's doing a good job. These people are morons and traitors to America. More arrests across American campuses where pro-Hamas terror supporters are on the march. The police made arrests at Washington University in St. Louis, Northeastern, Arizona State, and Indiana as more schools move in on these illegal encampments. So that's just one story. We got more here. Al Jazeera says hundreds of university students arrested in U.S. as Gaza war protests spread. Hundreds of students have been arrested across universities in the U.S. Yep. And here are the places where they're arresting them. Surprising in the Midwest, too. Unbelievable. Look at this. Criminals. Unbelievable. Almost 600 arrests in the past few days. Students are taking big risks. Students taking some big risks in these protests. They violate university rules, can be expelled. And here at Princeton, tuition's $50,000 a year. For many of them, it's an education they've been looking forward to all their lives. Princeton student Sam Biso told Al Jazeera taking such risks showed how passionate students were about the issue. People are willing to put it all on the line, but we know we have the power in numbers. Well, good to you. Good luck to you as you go stand that bread line because you're an idiot. Residents going through the wreckage of massive tornadoes, huge funnel clouds in the Midwest after they hammered Nebraska and Iowa. Residents began shifting through the rubble Saturday after a tornado plowed through suburban Omaha, demolishing homes and businesses that moved for miles through farmland into subdivisions. Dozens of reported tornadoes wreaked havoc Friday in the Midwest, causing a building to collapse with dozens of people inside, destroying and damaging at least 150 homes in Omaha alone. No fatalities have been reported, but fewer than 24 people were treated in Omaha area hospitals. It's miraculous that people weren't killed. I saw the funnel clouds. It's unbelievable that people weren't killed by these things. Look at this. Pictures here. Damaged homes. Power outages peaked at 10,000, but it dropped to 4,300 already by Saturday morning. Wow, as the Midwest recovers from that. So there you have it, folks. Let me see what's going on here in the chat. People have been chatting up the storm over here. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Timestamps. There we go. So Sedgefield's here, Janet Liddy's here. I already said Charles. We got, who else we got there? Garrett. LMC's here. Bantu tribe expanding in the rest of Africa was a back migration. Black people did not spring from the soil in West Africa. Bantu looked the same as the other pre-Bantu expansion ethnic groups. That's simply a false statement. That's simply a false statement. The Bantu peoples are DNA-wise different than the peoples of Southern Africa. The Bantu people are almost identical to the populations of West Africa whence they came. They are different than the Neolithic people whom they encountered, ran into, and lost to, and then instead of pushing back against them, went south instead of northeast. The Amharic people of Ethiopia, those people are completely different. The Pygmies are completely different. Their DNA is very different. So that's simply not true, LMC. Not true. Kurtz Verhoeven's here as well. Chris is still here. LMC says, any Bushman tribes would have been absorbed and become part of the heritage. They were absorbed or wiped out. So how is that different than what Europeans did? It's the exact same thing. If you call it what Europeans did a crime, then what the Bantu people did was a crime as well. So consistency. Martin K., welcome to you. Vernon Nylager, MK, have put some quite provocative posters and distributed some quite provocative posters down in KZN. Yeah, well, you should be worried there, Vernon. Okay. Ken Anston's here as well. Well, not just the Kalahari, but the Northern Cape, into the deserts of the Namib, all over the place. You had Bantu migrations that affected everybody. Joshua Pillay says South Africa's gone backwards. Yeah, it's definitely gone backwards. Marilyn Bergenshaw, hey, Marilyn. And where do we get our clicks from? By listening to people and copying them. We have clicks at the mall, says Arbot. That's not funny, Arbot. Sorry. We have as many clicks as the cost. Really? I've heard Zulu spoken many times, and I can't say that I've heard many clicks at all. Mismanages out of Sandef screwed. Only reason they seem there is protect ANC mines. Exactly. Sounds like South Africa is becoming expensive equipment boneyard. It is. It is. It has been for a long time. Many of the prime movers have been mothballed for decades in South Africa, ever since the end of the Cold War. They're eating everything they can before the May 29th. Yep, exactly. Yeah, there won't be one qualified doctor coming very soon to South Africa. You'll have to be importing doctors from India like we do. Excuse me. So Almase says, Charles, so your theory is that a horde of Bantu people chased every bushman 1,000 kilometers to the desert. No. The ones they didn't kill, absorb, they chased into the desert. Just like when it's the exact same picture of when Europeans arrived. They cohabitated with some, they intermixed with some, and the rest fled inward, away from the threat. Pretty simple. Same thing happened. What's the editorial point of the picture of spent cartridges? I have no idea, Mike. There were still Bushman tribes in the eastern part of South Africa even up till the 1900s. Yeah, what happened to them, LMC? Yes, Vernon, you will expect that the diesel budget will be exhausted, that they won't be able to produce the electricity, and you'll be back to stage 6 load shedding on May 30th, June 2nd, sometime shortly after that. ANC is a Hunger Games spinoff. It is, RJ. It is a Hunger Games spinoff. Thanks to the 100-plus people currently here. Be sure to hit the like button. We got 96 likes. Thanks for that. We did have over 100. Let's see. We started at 12:20, and we are at 1, so about 40 minutes there, over 100. Thanks for tuning in. LMC doesn't buy it. Sounds like an oversimplification, as does your explanation. They both sound like oversimplifications. More failures, ANC property development, Motorfontein. Yep. So Bearda says there is this other YouTube show on geopolitics. Anybody can call in. Would you go and enlighten them on Africa? Thank you for any regard. You're going to have to tell me what this program is there, Bearda. I'd be happy to discuss it. I used to let people call in here, but we had people abuse the program far too often, so we stopped doing it. I just got busy. Joe says private sector contribution electricity is the reason. Well, that is correct. I've already said that multiple times, Joe. I've already said that for probably 5 gigabytes of demand is now off grid because of solar and battery storage, as well as wind turbines that private individuals, residential, and small businesses and corporations have put in place. If it wasn't for that, you'd have load shedding every single day. That plus the diesel. Those two factors are the reason why it's not worse. South Africa has, in theory, 52 gigawatts of installed electricity base. In practice, on a given day, you're lucky to get 24 to 26 megawatts. That's insane. Gigawatts, not megawatts. That's insane. What happened in sports? Well, the Stormers won, the Bulls won, the Lions got slaughtered. Yep, and the Sharks won on Friday. Okay, we haven't had any load shedding for over a month, but every weekend we have power outages. Yep, exactly. There were still Bushmen even in Zimbabwe. I think the Bushmen that are around. Okay, LMC, I'm not going to falsely attribute this to you. Maybe I remember it incorrectly, but let me ask you this question. Were you not the individual that denied that there were Bushmen in Zimbabwe when I claimed that there were Bushmen in Zimbabwe on a previous broadcast? If it wasn't you, LMC, then I don't want to cast aspersions in your direction. But I told my audience repeatedly that the Bushmen were in Zimbabwe before the Bantu arrived. We know this because we have 50,000-year-old paintings in the northeast in Mashonaland. And they fled westward. The Bushmen in the colony there of their own accord because they were nomadic people. LMC, do you not? The Bushmen were nomadic people. They were hunter-gatherers. They moved with the seasons. They moved with the herds. They moved around until they were chased away. What else? Nomadic people, there was nowhere for them to go without having conflict except in the desert. Very few sun in Zimbabwe. Still a few. There are 50,000 in Botswana. There are 5,000 in Zimbabwe. And there are about 130,000 in Namibia, which has the most. South Africa has 30 to 40,000 approximately. Zulu are a nation that grew from the Nguni tribes, and Nguni people formed the Union Bantu and Bushmen. The Zulu are a consequence of conquest, murder, and expropriation without compensation. That's how the Zulu came into existence. Expropriation without compensation. That's why Jacob Zuma is so fond of it. It's the history of the Zulu. They stole, they pillaged, they stole. That's why they want it. Alvin Vestergaard says, hi there. Greetings from Kronstadt. Hey, thanks for spreading the truth about our country. Fuck beyond repairs by ANC. Yeah, it is. Let's see what else. The world is full of gun-crazy people. Indeed. Every Nguni language uses click consonants. Even many clan names mention called Bushman heritage. That looks hectic. I'm not sure which is worse. Yeah, the tornadoes were bad. You should have seen it, Debbie. I mean, I don't know how wide it was, but the funnel cloud looked like it was about 5 kilometers wide. The base of it is insane. I have sympathy with Japan. Enough with the selfies already. Nguni tribe stem language, nothing like the sign language. Sure, they have clicks, but the sign language is entirely clicks. Correct. Some of the clans within the Xhosa are directly descended from Khoi people, but they are also Xhosa. They speak Xhosa. That's because they amalgamated some of the groups. We'd never claimed it. And there's the Courtney's $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Someone else gave a super chat. I missed it. Bantu language originated around Cameroon and spread to the east. That's it. The speakers. But you just earlier said that they didn't come from there. There's Usina with a 10-pound super chat. Wow. Thank you, Usina. Very grateful for that. Thank you so much. I am destitute and broke after spending so much money on my election campaign. So I need the money. You just said earlier, I know I read that. I'm not falsely attributing to you, LMC. You did say that the Bantu, that was a myth that they came from West Africa. You just now say that the language originated in Cameroon. Of course, that's where they came from. Petra Myberg. The Khoi got their cattle from Bantu. The cattle they bred is descended from the Nguni cow. Johnny Clegg. Glegg? I think you mean Johnny Clegg. No, Courtney, I lost my primary. What makes... Okay, hang on. It's a Scottish man who had Zulu women as wives. Yep. What else we got here? So... Boy, Charles and LMC going back and forth. Orlando Sadi said, the reason why I think Joe is a jackass because he tried to overthrow South African nationalist government rule in 1980. I would like to ask him after it's become a more beautiful country. Well, you do know that, of course, Joe Biden traveled to Robben Island in the heart of Soweto where he met Nelson Mandela. The southwest townships of Soweto were not located anywhere near Robben Island, which is, of course, by definition, an island off the coast of Cape Town. Thousands of miles away. Yeah, it wasn't me. Okay, thank you, LMC. But somebody said that. It wasn't you. Okay, so that's why I said I don't want to falsely attribute it to you. Thank you for clarifying. It wasn't you. But someone made that claim. Ndebele call themselves because they found Bushmen there. So where does Ndebele come from? Rita says, well, my husband, the border wars, the previous trip, also, they had Bushman trackers. Yep, they did. Wow, Chris, your inept knowledge in-depth knowledge. I thought you said in-depth. Africa amazes me. You speak truth to power fearlessly. Well, Josh, that's the reality. Should we talk more about it? We talk about, so again, let me just do this while we still have about 90 viewers before people depart again. Oh, now we're down to 89, somebody left, but let me do this. So I told white South Africans a few years ago when I started this broadcast after retiring from active service that you have more allies than you realize. A lot of white South Africans are like, oh, we're all alone. It's us against the world. Form the logger, put the wagons up. Let's defend ourselves. No. Okay, first off, the history of South Africa belies the fact that you're alone. When the Great Trek took place, the Mfecane was occurring, or had occurred and was still continuing. The Ndebele were preying on the Baralong and other Tswana tribes, as well as many Basotho-speaking groups. They would raid, they would steal, they'd take women, they'd take cattle, they'd burn villages, and they were doing that because they fled themselves from the Zulu. They didn't want to be part of the Zulu, and they fled up to the Highveld. And then they preyed on the weaker tribes around there. When the truck Boers came forward, Andres Pretorius and Piet Retief and the host of others came up through there, Cyril Cilliers and others came up through into what is known as the Orange Free State, now the Free State. They found it largely abandoned, not because it had never been populated, but because people fled from the internecine conflict taking place. They fled out of there, said, exit, stage left, I'm out of here. And they went towards the Drakensberg and further west to flee from this chaos. The Trek Boers moved into there, and then the Ndebele would come and attack and prey on the Basotho speakers, on the Baralong, and on Bakwena and other of the Tswana-speaking peoples and the Basotho peoples. And the Griquas, who had moved up into the area a long time prior. So they were attacking all of them. And then, of course, they attacked the Trek Boers and viciously murdered women and children and destroyed entire families pointlessly to steal their cattle. Trek Boers, Griqua, Tswana, Basotho, all worked together to defeat the Ndebele and chase them north of the Limpopo into what became Zimbabwe. Many Ndebele stayed, but they weren't the ones who were under Mzilikazi. There were others. So there's a history of black and white South Africans working, black, white, and colored South Africans working together for common defense against a common threat. It's there. So when you start thinking about being a white South African's an Afrikaner or a Boer, so first off, Boer, very small community, Afrikaner, larger community, 2.6 million, 2.8 million people. And then other white South Africans, another 2 million. So there you go. So now you're up to about 4.8, 5 million white South Africans. Then when you throw in the 8 million colored South Africans who have a common heritage, not mixed race, but colored, that's a distinct ethnic group, about 6 to 8 million of them who have a common heritage with Afrikaners and with the Boer, many of them descending from them. Peter de Villiers, where do you think his name de Villiers came from? He's descended from the guy in the Western Cape. That's right. And if you go to the Frans Hoek Museum of the Huguenots, you will see Peter de Villiers on the board in his colored face, descended from Mr. de Villiers back in the day. So you have common heritage, common religion, common language, and that takes you from 4.8 million out to potentially 10 to 12 million South Africans. But then you go beyond that. There are 4 million Tswana speakers, and many of the Tswana speakers have a long, amiable relationship with Afrikaners, particularly in Northwest and in Mpumalanga. And then you find yourself, and even in the Free State, with another 4 million potential. That takes you to 16 million potentially, 14 to 16 million South Africans. Then you have a million plus Indians who also feel marginalized and disadvantaged, and you have something in common with them, including the 100,000 plus of them that actually speak Afrikaans as a first language. And now you find yourself north of 15 million, 16, 17 million potentially. Plus the Basotho. 2 million Basotho speakers, some of them. Now, not all these people will be your allies, but these are pools of people who will be natural allies. Then you have plenty of people who are black South Africans who don't believe in the nonsense going on in the country. So you could form a coalition of like-minded people between 15 and 20 million South Africans out of 60 million. That's a significant activity, a significant number of people, and you just need to do it. You need to reach out across the aisle. If you're a white Afrikaans-speaking South African, you should be making friends with colored South Africans and Indian South Africans and black South Africans and vice versa. There you go. LMC's on his cell phone. Well, you're doing a pretty good job on your cell phone then, LMC. That's a challenge with those tiny keys. Well done. Joshua, thank you for your compliment and your comment. Charles says, 100% correct reference Trek Boers and Mfecane. Yes, I know. I know the history. Mr. Finn from the Bluff was a Scottish guy and quite a few Bantu wives. Yep. Alvin Vestratz, I'm truly impressed by your knowledge of South African history and stuff. Well, thank you very much, Alvin. Baya donkey. Yeah, no, I'm glad people are finding this channel again. I mean, that's why people found my channel to begin with, very beginning. Is there a chance for federalism in South Africa or maybe just too many tribes? No, Joe, there's a very good chance for federalism, but it must not include MK, EFF, or the ANC. They must be in the dustbin of history as minority opposition. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere. But let me be very clear, folks. Let me be very clear. Go watch my video about, let me get the link here. I don't see Hendo here or somebody like that. So let me get the link. Go watch my video, which still hasn't got much viewership, about coalition potentials, which I published. Here it is. Get a shareable link. Okay, so this one I published, over a month ago, and almost nobody's watched it. So there's the link. So go watch it, open up another tab and watch it afterwards. These are the coalition potentials that I talked about in South Africa. Now, let me just tell you something. Even if a benign coalition takes control of South Africa's government June 1st, doesn't matter. They can try to do their best, but the government is chock full of patronage, hires, incompetent, unqualified people running state-owned enterprises and just sitting in government, in home affairs, and everywhere else. In Durko, everywhere you turn. People who have no business in government, who are simply promoted because of their appearance, not their qualifications. And it's going to take a long time to overcome that. That's a problem. Two sins of the white colonialists: recording history and boats. Maybe. Maybe. I'm more left of center than people, but even I'm ally Afrikaners. Okay. The first van Onselen was Cornelius van Onselen in 1825. I have no idea when the first Van Onselen was. It was a surname unfamiliar to me, Charles, until I met you. Yep, so there you go. Hey, there's Hendo. I don't know. Hendo is, we're going to have to look at his elite moderator status. Hendo is just all over the place. He's so busy doing something else now. We're going to have to check in to see what's going on. Beardy says, sorry I was out for a moment. Did Chris mention joining other YouTube discussions, Singaporean channel, lots of Americans? Beard, I don't know what channels you're talking about. You're gonna have to tell me what the channels are. Look, I've interviewed probably 1,000 people in the past 4 years, maybe 1,000, yeah, from all over the world. A lot of South Africans from all over the place, from parties, people from the head of the Macadamia Nut Association, the agricultural folks, the Poultry Association, grape growers, the vineyards, multiple vineyards, political parties of all stripes and all colors, you name it. And plus here in the States, I interviewed Kevin Sorbo, Janie Radabaugh, the famous physicist and astronaut, planetary scientist, lots of people over the world. And I've appeared on many programs, but all of that's sort of died off lately. Nobody's interested in talking to other people. I had a host of programs. I had Answer the Question with Rob Hutchison until he screwed me, falsely lying, saying that I screwed him when he actually behaved like a child. And so then he disappeared. So we had Answer the Question, which was a very popular segment we did weekly. Also have K-Nako, which was supposed to be fortnightly, but we've only done it once in the past several months. That's with me, Dumo Denga, and Koketso Redzani, and a host of others, and Zuzu. Yeah, and so I just asked them if they want to do that this week. In fact, let me look and see if I got a response. Dumo's not available. So I guess we're not going to do it. Dumo's reliable, so we're not going to do K-Nako this week. I also have, Fireside with the Colonels with Vinet Dutoit. We have done that once this year. I'll try to do that again sometime soon. They talk about us sometimes. I don't dare go on. Who's us? Everybody live at the same time, letting one person talk at a time. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I've done that. I've had Roman Kabanek and Ronaldo Jos and, of course, Jeremy Nail all on here at the same time. We've done a live broadcast together. Yep. Utah Warriors matches have a lot of Polynesian fans. Yeah, no, they put that in there. DC, same thing. You represent so well. Please consider it. Well, Bearda, you got to tell me DPA open mic. Okay, I don't DPA open mic. Let me look that up. YouTube DPA open mic. Not familiar with that. Oh, Ronaldo's on right now. Didn't know he was on today. DPA open mic. Defense Politics Asia. We have 5,000 subscribers. Okay. I'll check into it. I don't know anything about that. So go. Okay. The Asians talk about South Africans. Okay. Rod says 200% correct about the corrupt ANC people and jobs. Yep. Just like you, I've heard some interesting opinions. No, well, look, my opinions are unsolicited. I appreciate those who tune in. Thank you for listening and watching. By the way, I'll have another article coming out soon. If I can't find a publisher for it, it will be on my Substack. So this is Friend or Foe, whose side is South Africa on? Just the opening paragraph from this very quickly so you know what to come. It'll whet your appetite for it. South Africa's looming national and provincial election on May 29th is helping focus attention on its relationship with Washington, D.C. Bilateral support to reconsider the United States diplomatic relationship with African National Congress led South Africa suddenly surfaced in the midst of an election year in both countries. What happens to the relationship after May 29th, or for that matter, after the U.S. general election on November 5th? Will Congress seek to sanction South Africa for its perceived anti-Western, anti-U.S., anti-democratic leanings, or will the status quo continue regardless of who occupies the White House or which political party controls Congress? So that's the opening line of that. That's a 1,500-word article. Beard has been following me since the start. You're very welcome. Okay. Never give up. No, I'm not giving up. I just burned through a lot of personal savings, drained one account that I had not spent a penny from in nearly 5 years, drained the entire savings account. And I drained another savings account, which I've been saving in for 9 years. That money's gone. And I have 2 credit card bills due to finance the campaign because I refuse to accept dark money from corrupt political outside interest. And I lost badly, so lessons learned. But no one can accuse me of not stepping forward when the country is at risk. I did. I stood, and not enough people got behind me, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. They don't have to vote for me. So, no, Green Phantom. Stop. That's a fairy tale. South Africa is not geographically important, even remotely. The only time South Africa becomes even remotely geographically important is when the Suez Canal is shut down, which happened last year when a ship ran into the side of the canal. Remember that? It's the only time South Africa becomes even remotely of any interest. It's not geographically important. If you mean geopolitically important, it's not even geopolitically important. South Africa has no weight. It's just an interloper in other African affairs. Sorry, Green Phantom. I mean, it hurt feelings, but that's the reality. South Africa does not matter on the world stage. And it has not mattered on the world stage since about 2000. Yeah, South Africa is not relevant at all. But our gold. South Africa is the 10th largest producer of gold, although it came back up to 6th, 8th, and back to 10th. It's not even a major producer of gold anymore. The gold is so deep, so expensive to dig out, that it's not economically viable in most cases. Gold is cheaper to extract in Australia, China, the U.S., Canada, than it is in South Africa. South Africa is not a major gold producer, so gold is not your chip. Platinum-based minerals, we're moving away from that. Everyone's getting away. We don't need catalytic converters anymore. That's the biggest consumer of that stuff. Electronics and catalytic converters. We're not going to need the platinum-based group. So South Africa is not even they are a major producer of it. Coltan, that doesn't come from South Africa. That comes from the Congo, which is used in cell phones and other devices. Grain, South Africa is not a major food exporter. Nope. So wine, well, we can do without South African wine. We can buy U.S. wine. We can buy European wine, buy Chilean wine, Australian wine. There's plenty of wine out there. Orlando says, even if the ship's routes around South Africa harbors don't work. Exactly. It passed by. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Okay. We are very proud of you for standing firm and not being bought during elections. Well, thank you, Eric. And I wasn't bought. I refused to be bought. I'm not saying anyone that was willing to buy me, but I'm saying that I took that stand to do the right thing. Based on election, are you stepping completely out of local government? Mike, my term as judge of elections runs through November. I considered resigning from that, also resigning from the VFW as commander. Not because of the elections, but because, look, there's people that are being abusive that don't deserve me. They don't simply deserve me. There's no reason for me to tolerate the behavior of the clowns that have been behaving so poorly. Not the judge of elections. The people who judge elections are lovely people, but I've been so soured by this corrupt political process that I'm frankly considering filing as an independent instead of Republican. The Republican Party is such a disgrace, particularly at the local level, that it's stomach churning. I can't believe how corrupt they are. It's unbelievable. They're liars and they're corrupt beyond belief, and it's really disheartened me to a degree that I'm considering withdrawing from all this stuff. I might move to Nepal. I'm kidding. I don't think I'm moving to Nepal. If we can find Authentic Max, if he's still around, I might move to Nepal. Authentic Max was a pretty good viewer. Miss Authentic Max. Yep. South Africa's become I don't know what that is. Okay, back again. Homemade chicken burger and chips were yummy. I'm starving myself. I could go for something tasty. Yeah, I mean, look, there's all kinds of changes coming. So I may do this. I may do that. I may leave Judge of Elections. I may leave the VFW. I may shave this beard off. I may become a monk. I may move to Nepal. All kinds of things. USA sanctions South Africa they already turned fully to China and Russia. China and Russia are not going to pay South Africa $640 million a year to provide antiretrovirals to HIV-positive South Africans whose CD4 count is below 300 or 400 or 200, whatever the current level that the UN AIDS recommends. South Africa will lose potentially its access to the U.S. market. We're talking about $20 billion in two-way trade, the second largest trading partner. China cannot fill that gap. Chinese will not buy all the BMW spare parts that we buy, the wine that we buy, and the other things. So they can turn to China and Russia all they want. Russia has nothing. Russia is an aging, alcoholic, dead economy being weighed down by a stupid war led by Vladimir Putin going into Ukraine for no reason whatsoever, squandering the youth and treasure of Russia. For what gain? What does Putin gain from this? Not a damn thing. Russia is demonstrably worse off than it was before the conflict. Ukraine, of course, is worse off, but, you know, what do you expect? So, no, they can turn all they want. They've already turned. They court terrorists in Hamas. They congratulate Hamas. Jabba the Hutt and the Lady Pandor congratulated Hamas on their October 7th terrorist attack and invasion of Israel. She congratulated them on that. They go to Moscow openly. They have Russian defense contractors dock at Simonstown Naval Base openly. They deny they're doing anything wrong. They refuse to sanction Russia. They give the Chinese exclusive economic zones in South Africa where no one's allowed to go there except the Chinese. They've allowed the Chinese to pilfer and steal over 300,000 textile manufacturing jobs in the past 25 years. They're already all in with China and Russia. They're already in with them. So how would they go more with them? Josh says, I agree with Chris. I am a son of South Africa poke their fingers in other countries' affairs rather. Exactly. Isn't that ironic that the ANC always pisses and moans and complains and bitches about America sticking its nose in other people's business? But that's exactly what South Africa's done. What has South Africa done since the end of apartheid? Well, go back to apartheid. We can talk about how the National Party raided Botswana, raided Angola, fought a war in Angola, 2 wars in Angola, raided Tanzania, raided Zambia, financed an insurgency in Mozambique, raided Zimbabwe. The list goes on and on and on. Let's go forward to the ANC. What did the ANC do? The first thing they do, they get involved in Cote d'Ivoire, sticking their nose in there. Nelson Mandela sticking his nose in Cote d'Ivoire's business. Then they stick their nose in the Ethiopian-Eritrean conflict. Then they stick their nose in the Congo. They stick their nose in Burundi. They stick their nose everywhere they're not welcome. Central African Republic. And they embarrass themselves. Now they're back in the Congo again. It's unbelievable. Yet they stick their nose in everyone else's business. They stick their nose in Gaza's business, making a false claim of genocide while they ignore the Gambia's historical precedent-setting case against Myanmar for its purported genocide against the Rohingya, which is a genocide. And South Africa has nothing to say. They don't join that historic case. They sit on the sidelines and do nothing. Yet they claim to be the paragons of virtue and the country that cares the most about what's right and how to do things. It's total fiction and lie. It's very self-serving. If South Africa gave a flying flip about genocide, where is it in Darfur? Where is it in Sudan between the RSF and the Sudanese forces of General al-Burhan? Where is it in Somalia, in Nigeria, in Central African Republic, in Mozambique? Where is, yes, I know they're in Mozambique, but they're not talking about genocide. They're just misbehaving. Where are they about the hunger? People are starving in Gaza. More people are starving in Sudan. 5.2 million people are on the verge of starvation in Sudan. And the ANC is silent, because they don't care about the death and murder of black people. They only care about their fellow travelers who gave them succor and refuge when they were criminal terrorists, like the Russians and the East Germans and the Chinese and the Palestinian fellow travelers. That's all they care about. They don't care about right and wrong. They have no moral high ground. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was a joke, an absolute joke. And not because it didn't punish apartheid government, instigators or criminals, but because it punished none of the black perpetrators of crime. Who has been prosecuted for the murders of black South Africans at Quatro in Angola? Nobody. Who has been prosecuted for the murder of 20,000 Inkatha supporters in KZN? Nobody. Yet they're worried about Basson and the Dr. Chemical from the National Party. It's a joke, an absolute joke. They're a disgrace. They have nothing to offer the world except theft, race hustling, and disgraceful self-privilege and self-aggrandizement. And I said that, folks. I said that in my race. And I played those two things. Let me play those for you again if I can find them real quick here. Those are the things now I haven't used that file in a while, so here we go. Let me find this thing. So graphics, here you go. Let me play these very quickly for you guys. These are the things that I said on my campaign. Here we go. So where are they at? Come on. There it is. I'm Colonel Chris Wyatt, U.S. Army retired. I served our nation and our Constitution for nearly 30 Now, I'm going to get a copyright claim for that music, so I'm going to stop it there. But in there, I say, in that audio, I said that the politicians should be in office or running for office, candidates, not for self-aggrandizement, self-enrichment, or craven political power. But that's what the ANC is there for. Self-enrichment, self-aggrandizement, and craven political power, not to serve the people. And the same thing the guy that won our primaries in office for, self-enrichment. So Erica just donated for Super Chat. Thank you, 30 Rand Super Chat. Thank you for that. Maricano, Camp Quattro, yep. Eugene Nikulka is still sitting in jail. That's correct. Whereas the murders of a U.S. grad student who beat her to death with stones in the Cape Flats got out of jail within a couple of years. Amy Beale. Remember that? Amy Beale? Is it Amy? Amy Beale. August 25th, 1993. As she drove three friends to the township of Guguletu outside Cape Town on August 25th, 1993, a mob pulled her from the car and stabbed and stoned her to death. The attack on the car driven by her was one of many instances of general lawlessness on the N2 highway that afternoon, bands of toying youths throwing stones. 4 people were convicted of her killing, but then released because of the TRC. In 1998, all were pardoned by South Africa's TRC. Why was she murdered? Because she was blonde and white. That's why she was murdered. Amy Beale was murdered because she was white. That's why she was murdered. Not because she committed any crime. She was helping colored women out. 23-year-old grad student. Stabbed and stoned to death by criminals who were released from prison by the fake TRC. Good night, Erica. Yeah, no one prosecuted after spending millions and millions on commissions and investigations. And it was hailed as an example of how to do things. Antra Krug's book, Anki Krug, let me see that. Country of My Skull. Hailed it. What a joke. Country of My Skull. That book. Anki Krug. Country of My Skull. Yep. It's a 1998 nonfiction book by Anki Krug. It's based on her experience as a radio reporter covering the commission from 96-98, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Yep. She judges herself and other whites to have been complicit in apartheid's crimes against humanity. Country of My Skull ends with a request in verse. Yeah, no, you're full of it, aren't you? Yeah, you're blaming people for it. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. And who's responsible for the brutal slaying of Amy Beale? Murderers who were set loose by your Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Yep. Anyway, there you have it, folks. All right, well, we've been at this for an hour and a half. We got 193 people here. It's a Sunday, though. 115 likes. Thanks for that. Yep. All right. So do you have any thoughts on why HIV is so high in South Africa and decreases for... It's not negligible in West Africa. It's low. The number's small in West Africa because it never got a foothold. Type 1 and type 2 HIV are both prevalent in West Africa. No, because I did research on this. It's the social mores. Social mores. In Southern Africa, there are a host of contributing factors, all of which hurt Thabo Mbeki's thin-skinned, small-minded, small-penis mindset. And Thabo Mbeki, when people like myself and clinicians and researchers warned Southern Africa in 2000 and before that there was a coming deluge of HIV cases because the circumstances that will help spread it existed. Number one, lack of circumcision. That is a key factor in spreading HIV. The virus gets under the foreskin and can be transmitted. Rather than there's no foreskin, it doesn't have anything to cling on to, and it gets exposed to the air and oxygen. So circumcision, which wasn't really talked about much back then, but later came to light to be an effective tool to reduce transmission. But we did talk about long-distance truck routes. Southern Africa is full of them because of minerals and because of the way trade is done. Stuff coming down from Zambia and from the lakes in Malawi and Angola down to Southern Africa, and then all the goods coming up from Durban primarily, spreading throughout all of Southern Africa. It is the main artery for Southern Africa from the ocean, Durban. That's the main port. So those things, when you sit at the Kazangulu border crossing for 5 days waiting to clear customs and or catch a ferry to cross the river between Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana, what do truckers do? They sit around, they drink, they're bored. Women ply their wares who are prostitutes, and they catch HIV from unprotected sex. Those truck drivers take it home and share it with their spouses, unbeknownst to the innocent victims, and they also get HIV. And then it's passed on to the children because of the arrogant, asshat behavior of the South African government, which refused to allow the free issuance of nevirapine to expectant mothers. When Thabo Mbeki's tiny penis, small-minded, fragile ego was told about nevirapine, he refused to allow it to be given free to South African pregnant expectant mothers. At the time that occurred in the early part of this century, that drug was effective at reducing the transmission of HIV through the birth canal and the birthing process by 50%. One reduction is wonderful. 50% was amazing. Today, nevirapine and drugs like that reduce mother-to-child transmission by well over 90%. It's almost non-existent now, courtesy of the drugs by Abbott Laboratories, a company that I invest in. But Thabo Mbeki would have no part of that. Then Thabo Mbeki and Minister Beetroot, the lunatic trained to be a doctor in the Soviet Union, claimed that beetroot would cure HIV. What kind of moron comes up with that concept? Then they claimed that HIV was a consequence of poverty. If HIV was a consequence of poverty, then Appalachia would be rife with HIV because it's full of people in poverty. If HIV was a consequence of poverty, then the entire population of India would be in poverty, and China. But they're not. It would be HIV positive, but they're not. They're not. It was a stupid argument. Long distance truck routes, multiple concurrent partnerships, which is something we haven't talked about. Multiple concurrent partnerships played a major role in the spread of HIV. But Thabo Mbeki's feelings were, they're talking about black men saying we're over-sexualized. No one said that. You inferred that incorrectly because you're a small-minded, tiny penis, fragile ego man, Thabo Mbeki. That's what you inferred. What we stated clearly is that the number of multiple concurrent partnerships in Southern Africa is much more prevalent and pervasive than it is in other parts of Africa or that it is in the developed world. What that means is not that black men are sexually aggressive or have lots of sexual partners. What it means is that many people in Southern Africa have multiple sexual partners in long-term relationships simultaneously. Whereas in the developed world, in other parts of Africa, there's typically a monogamous relationship. That ends, then another relationship, then that ends, another relationship. So over a lifespan, the number of partners, sexual partners, tends to be about the same. But Thabo Mbeki's fragile ego and his small-mindedness and his tiny penis envy led him to take it as an insult against black men because he's an idiot. He's an idiot. And as a consequence, South Africa has 7.8 million people with HIV today. Behavior didn't change. And there's another factor which I pointed out in 2000. The other factor is, of course, now the one I said I didn't point out in 2000 was circumcision. We didn't know about that until about 2006, 2008. But in 2000, I said the other factor was the nature of employment in South Africa. Hundreds of thousands of men were working not where they lived. Hundreds of thousands of men were from KZN, but were working in the gold reef, in the Midrand, and in the mines, and elsewhere. They would travel far afield. They would stay in hostels and camps. And they weren't with their spouses or partners who were back living on a hillside and ridgeline in KZN or in the Free State or in Mpumalanga. But they were off in the coal mines or the gold mines or the diamond mines, working and in industry, sending money home. But they get lonely and they seek partners and they have sex with prostitutes. Now, I'm not just blaming prostitutes. They have sex with other women too. And they catch HIV through unprotected sex. They take it home. There was an amazing, the first ever, is LMC still here? LMC, what's the first ever Zulu language major motion picture? Do you know what it is? I know what it is. It's called Yesterday. It was an incredible and sad movie. Oh, you know it. Okay, sorry, LMC, you're still here. Yesterday, the first ever major motion picture in the Zulu language. And I watched it in Zulu with English subtitles. A heartbreaking story of a man in the mines who gets sick. He's already infected his wife, but he's further along. And they have a child. And her only concern is who's going to take care of her child. She nurses this man as he's dying, as people at the time were so ignorant they thought that people with HIV could get it from the water, so they wouldn't let them near the drinking well. She had to build him a tin shack on the side, in the hillside in KZN, buffeted by the wind as he suffered and died an agonizing death. And in the end, she later succumbed to her illness. She walked miles to get to the only clinic out there, not to get treated because they closed for the day, walking home. And so her illness advanced and she died, and her child was left behind. Yesterday. What a tragic story. What an incredible South African movie. There were a number of South African movies that came out in this time frame. There was The Long Run, which is an incredible movie. Not entirely believable because the guys who were supposedly marathoners were chubby dudes, but that's because they were black South African actors who were talented at acting. So, yep. Yeah, so there you go. Yesterday. I have the video. I have the DVD. It's a sad movie. You should watch it. Everybody should watch it. South Africa has so much HIV because of the behavior of South Africans and the inaction of the South African government. Even to this day. Even to this day. People take it far too softly. Only the generals could have been prosecuted in terms of law, but every order under that was issued in terms of law. Interesting topic of conversation, says Paul, or can you just say micro penis? Suez Canal could easily become too dangerous to travel because around. Yes, I said that, Green Phantom. I recognize that. It's not currently important. But when the Suez Canal is shut down, it does become important. But all coasts are circumcised. Are they? Orlando is out of here. So here's the thing you have to understand, and let's just talk about this. Apartheid was not illegal. Apartheid was legal. But legal doesn't mean moral. And people who follow the law can't be convicted of crimes when they follow the law. So, but there were crimes committed under apartheid. Anyway. Consequence of AIDS has been terrible, nonetheless, with the virgin cleansing myth. Yeah. Oh, the raping of toddlers. Unbelievable. That nonsense happening all over South Africa. Yep, that's her name, Mantu Shabalala Tsamangmung. That's South Africa. Even the presidents have nothing upstairs. Yeah, well, our president doesn't have anything upstairs either. So you're not alone. 85,000 a year die from AIDS in South Africa. Yep. That number fluctuates up and down, 130 down to 60,000. But yeah, it's pretty high. In addition, South Africa is one of the world's highest rates of tuberculosis. There are over 500,000 people with tuberculosis in South Africa. That's a preventable disease too. Yep. Law changed, so everyone had to change accordingly. Yep. Errol Wiedemann says the Tokolash belonged to the SA tribe. Okay. Some people shot in Durban. Okay. All right. Rhino Man trailer. What's that? In Xhosa culture, men undergo initiation, which includes circumcision. Apparently, a shock ended the practice among Zulus. Yeah. Well, it would be interesting to see what the HIV rates among Xhosa versus Zulu versus Venda versus Tswana and others is. Mainly grandparents in Lesotho brought up the children of the past 20 years or so. Yeah, no, I remember in the 1980s, after the government was taken over there, and they chased out the government in 1986, and the current government came in place. It's been in place since 86. I remember the news reports of villages where there were no adults, just children and grandparents, because all the adults had died from AIDS. It was one of the first places heavily impacted was Uganda. So that also puts a bit of myth to the story earlier that why South Africa. It's not just South Africa. Uganda was devastated by HIV/AIDS in the 1980s, and it was shocking. I remember that. In fact, in Botswana in 2000, I met a gentleman who had been in charge of programs, civic programs in Uganda to help stem the tide after Museveni's government came to power. And they were successful. They took serious steps against HIV and took it seriously and reduced the incidence of it dramatically. And in fact, so much so that when I was in Uganda, you barely knew that HIV was an issue there. It had been so heavily scaled back. That is still not the case in South Africa. Botswana was at one time the world's most heavily infected HIV country. 38.8% of the adult population of Botswana sexually active from the age of 15 to 49 was HIV positive at one time. That's a shocking figure. Now, you got to remember that with the advent of antiretrovirals, which have gotten better and better, the advent of antiretrovirals, people who would normally have died from HIV or AIDS aren't dying and haven't died. They live much longer lives. So every year, instead of losing tens of thousands of people, those tens of thousands of people live, they still have HIV, and more people get infected. So the fact that Botswana went from 38% of the adult population down to about 12%, I think it's about 12% now, still pretty high. That is an incredible achievement. It means a lot of people are being born and not getting HIV as they become adults, and that's good news. So what's this, the HIV rates, the LMC? Where's the Western Cape? You got KZN, Mpumalanga, Free State, Northwest, Gauteng, Eastern Cape, Popo, Northern Cape. What is hey, Warwick Brooks, how you doing? What is Western Cape? Yeah, what's the Western Cape HIV rate? That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Rusty Blade, does it beat a sharp rock? Yeah, I don't see Western Cape listed there. Initially thought the HIV came from monkeys, so bad was the effect. Well, HIV did come from another from a what's the word I'm looking for here? Humans and chimpanzees and apes are all part of what? 12. There you go. See, look at that. Western Cape, 12.6%. So I don't know that it's directly attributable to the fact that people are circumcised, but anecdotally, that'd be something to take a look at. Rhesus monkey. No, not rhesus monkey. Primates. HIV did come from another primate. That's a fact. And who knows how people got it. Maybe they're eating bush meat. Who knows? That's a very good way to transmit disease through bush meat. Oof, I know people eat that stuff. Ugh. Yes, Gus, primate's the word I was looking for. Thank you very much. Rusty blunt knives, many die when noodle gets infected. Yep. Yeah, so that's the story of HIV. So here I am, an Army officer, an intelligence officer, and I'm a journalist and broadcaster. I'm sitting here talking pretty well informed about HIV, am I not? Yep. So, yeah, thank you, LMC, for giving us the Western Cape figure. That's 12.6. That's dramatically better than KZN, where it's 27%. It's more than twice as high in KZN. Isn't that shocking? Charles, no, they didn't think it was bushmeat initially. They didn't know what HIV was. I know the history of this. I know this history very well. What happened is that this first became apparent in gay populations, in very promiscuous gay populations. Doesn't mean all gay men are promiscuous. I'm just saying there are very promiscuous parts of the gay community. Very promiscuous. It's a lifestyle that was celebrated immensely with the liberation and gay rights coming about. And so we had this gay movement in San Francisco, in New York, and elsewhere, in Paris and London, where anything goes in that community. And in Los Angeles, they started seeing gay men who were very sexually active with Kaposi's sarcoma, a very rare condition which a normal human immune system should overcome. Humans normally can just defeat that before they even catch it. Your system's robust enough. But people had debilitated immune systems, and that was one of the first things. They started seeing all these other diseases that humans normally don't get. And initially, HIV was called GRID, gay-related infectious disease, because they thought it came from gay men. Then Dr. Fauci told everybody that children were the vector. Remember when Ryan White, the hemophiliac, got HIV? Dr. Fraud, also known as Fauci, working for the National Institutes of Health in the same job for 40 plus years, Dr. Fraud told everybody that children were the vector. Yeah, no. Blood is the vector. Yep. So they called, yeah, that's right, Fauci again. He strikes again. Nobody even knew who Fauci was back then. So gay-related infectious disease. But then almost simultaneously, I think it was the Pasteur Institute in France and American doctors almost at the exact same time identified the HIV virus as being the culprit. In, 1983, 84, somewhere thereabouts. It must have been like 83, I think it was. Because by 84, we were already getting tested for HIV. The government was already testing with an ELISA blood test for HIV, but it took some time. But the problem with that is that your body, HIV is very clever. It doesn't strike immediately. The virus gets in your bloodstream and it hides for a bit before it gets activated sometimes. So you could be exposed to HIV and not show any signs of it in a blood test for 3 months, sometimes for years. And that's what scared people. So as it went dormant. Yep. Quite a few deaths occur due to circumcision. Yep. Okay. Onward and upward, never give up. Okay. Western Cape gives free condoms. Well, that doesn't stop HIV. That just encourages people to be having more sex. Good behavior stops it. I like to learn what happened in South Africa. It opened my eyes to the truth. I can feel the pain of those who went through war. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Gay-related infectious disease, or GRID. Randy Schultz, who was a gay activist, died. He was a journalist, died from HIV, AIDS, wrote a book called And the Band Played On. He blamed the Reagan administration. Nobody knew what was going on. It scared the bejesus out of everybody, especially the gay community back in the 1980s. And then when the National Institutes for Health and the Centers for Disease Control tried to scare all of us, telling us that heterosexuals are at risk. Even to this day, heterosexuals are a small segment of society who get it. It's almost never transmitted through heterosexual contact in the United States. It's through intravenous drug use, through unprotected anal sex. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but that's the truth. It's rare. Except in one community, black men on the down low. Black men on the down low have spread HIV to black women, and black women are among the highest infected HIV population in America. Frightening, isn't it? Same way that it spread in Africa. Ooh, there we go again, accusing black men of bad behavior. Nope, simply stating the facts, folks. Stating the facts. Yep. First I heard of the dread disease is when Rock Hudson croaked. Yep. Rock Hudson and Liz Taylor, that really brought the thing to the fore. But I had heard about it before that. Yep. And in the Army in 1984, we were already getting HIV tests. They drew a lot of blood, man. Huge tubes. Yep. All the condoms are supposed to, all the clinics are supposed to have condoms. Thought most black South Africans were circumcised. Nope. Most aren't not. No, as was said by IMC, Kosa tend to be circumcised, but that's not universal. Yep. Freddie Mercury, yeah, that of course, that's the one that got the world. But Freddie, until the day he died, didn't tell anybody. Kept it close hold. Yep. Anyway, that's enough of that. We don't want to talk anymore about HIV or tuberculosis or Rona. I hope anybody that's under the weather feeling poorly feels better. It's a Sunday, and the sun finally came out. I'll tell you, my solar panels, I don't know if we're going to beat last month in March. We had a really good month in March here. Come on, here we go. So let me see what's going on now. We are currently at 16. I was only at 5 when the program started, so I've gained 11 hours in the 2 hours I've been on. So that's about 5.5, 6 per hour. That's pretty good. So that's a nice change. Yesterday was a terrible day. It was overcast, just 7 kilowatt hours, but the day prior I had 44 kilowatt hours. So yeah, 781. The best month I've had to date was last month. Since November, it was 793, and I'm 12 away. So all things being equal, I might still reach that today. It's 2 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I should surpass that. It had my best month ever today with 2 days left in the month. But according to this, 5,325.9 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions have not been produced because I've been using these solar panels. And 40 trees have been planted. No, they haven't really been planted. So anyway, you get it. Anyway, there you have it. So PrEP is free. No. Maybe in South Africa, courtesy of the U.S. taxpayer, but it's not free here. So, yep. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. LNC, thanks for being here. Thank you for the spirited conversation you had about the Bantu and the Khoisan San. That was interesting, following that in the chat as I was delivering the news. And thanks to everybody for your back and forth, free in South African clinics, courtesy of the U.S. taxpayer, who gives $640 million a year to South Africa. Yep. Anyway, much of that for HIV. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. It's 2 p.m. here on the East Coast, and the Pilchers did win. That's correct, Tendo. And the Stormers won, and the Bulls won. But the Stormers are still in a precarious position. The Bulls are in a decent position, but there's still a long way to go. You're all welcome. Thank you very much. God bless and have a lovely day. And I will have a guest on Tuesday from the referendum party. We'll be interviewing her on Tuesday. And let me just double check. Where's she at? Come on. Where's she at? Come on. There she is. Yep. So, I actually need to do it this way. So I'll have Joan Svart will be on my program, and then Robert King will be on the program later on. Also going to get the Freedom Front Plus back on. I'll be reaching out to the Inkata Freedom Party, the UDM. I'll try to reach the DA. We'll see how that goes, and we'll start getting people back on here to talk. Neil DeBeer should be on the program again sometime soon, talk about the upcoming election. If I can get the MK party on, I will. I'll treat them fairly, but we'll see how it goes. Hester liked the history lesson. You're welcome. Declan says, I'm glad I got solar, no power for 2 days until this afternoon. It seems like, although no load shedding, a lot of historically DA voting areas have been having power outages. Yeah, not a surprise, Declan. Not a surprise. Orlando Sadie says, your Bulls Stormers. Oh, that's for Hendo. Hendo is a Stormers fan. He's a Western Cape boy. So, yeah, he's a Stormers fan. Yep. Where does that money go? Well, I'll tell you where it doesn't go. It doesn't go to my bill. I paid $0 for my electricity to my utilities month. I still had to pay for the solar panels, but my electric bill was $0, plus I banked 412 kilowatt hours of excess electricity that went into the grid during the day. That's pretty good. So last year, my bill was $130. This year, it was $17. The $17 is because I have to pay the $10 connection fee, plus I have to pay for insurance because they don't repair the line, so I have to pay the scam that they have. So $17 a month, but there's 0 kilowatt hours I paid for. I gave them credits for all the hours I used and have 412 hours extra. And the same thing is going to happen this month. You're all very welcome. Take care. God bless. And I'm out of here. I got stuff to do. As always, cheers, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And it's been a pleasure. All right. MK is in trouble, and a lot of trouble they're in. Cheers, everybody. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. I've talked to Jack Miller before, Green Phantom. I've talked to Jack Miller before. But the Cape Independence Party is not on the ballot, so I might talk to him just for giggles and grins, but they're not on the ballot, so unless they're running a writing campaign, I'm not really sure what they hope to accomplish. Jack Miller has been on the program previously. He's come to my speeches at the Reformation Society in Rondebosch. Interesting guy. There you go. All right, cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.